back to a brand new video. Today I have another 15 lesser known facts for you guys. I have been trolling around through the forums, through old Reddit posts, looking for interesting facts or tips about old school RuneScape, and I've collected another 15 for you. Most of these will be kind of like trivia or Easter egg type of information, but some of them will actually be tips or could actually be useful for everyday gameplay. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video and let's get started. Coming up first here, did you know that it's actually impossible to poison or venom a cow? I've never actually tried or noticed, but I suppose you probably wouldn't, as cows are so weak and it's not very likely that you would poison them and not kill them. And at lower levels you generally don't have a poison weapon anyway, so I don't think I ever noticed or most people ever noticed, but yeah, you can't actually poison them. Now the reason for that is if you poison or venom a cow, it would actually interrupt their text timing, so whenever they say moo, apparently the poison or venom timers would conflict with that, and that's the reason why you can't poison a cow. When the Monkey Madness questline was originally released, the Dragon Scimitar was actually not released with it. It was not released until a full 4 months later on the 29th of March. Next up here, did you know there's actually an interesting way to get into the Wilderness Agility course without having 49 agility? I believe you could actually do this at 1 agility. Now the way this actually works is by teleporting to your bounty hunter target, as there are actually no restrictions to teleporting in to the area. So if you have a bounty hunter target and they happen to be standing in the Wilderness Agility course area, you teleport to them and you're actually in the area. Now unfortunately you can't actually complete the course without having 49 agility, but it's kind of an interesting Easter egg and kind of a weird use of the bounty hunter teleport. Next up here, did you know there's actually a quicker way to harvest your herb patches, your allotment patches, and even your hot patches? Now I never figured this out myself, but multiple people mentioned it to me, and that is if you spam click the allotment patch, for example, you'll actually harvest the patch twice as quickly. This is actually a major time save when farming, as harvesting allotment patches especially can take a long time, as you can get 20, 30, even 40 things harvested sometimes. And also for herb runs, as I do those a lot, generally just a good time save, kind of an experience per hour increase really too, and just a good farming tip to know about. Now one extremely useful use for combination runes is actually to put them in your rune pouch. If you put a law rune, a mist rune, and a lava rune in your rune pouch, it actually opens up all of the standard spellbook teleports, not including Apatol because you need a banana. This is really convenient as it only takes up 1 inventory slot, which is useful for pretty much everything, but it's especially useful for farm runs, questing, Slayer, anything where you need to teleport around a lot, clue scroll, stuff like that. Being able to have all of that in just 1 offer slot is extremely useful and an actual rare use for these combination runes, as I personally don't use them a lot, and often these runes can actually be cheaper than their regular elemental counterpart. Did you know that Briofita is actually the very first free-to-play monster capable of poisoning people? Now because of this, along with this update, they actually had to make anti-poisons free-to-play, because previously they were a members only item, and that wouldn't really be fun if you had a monster that could poison you, but there were no anti-poisons available in free-to-play. That would have been kind of funny, but I kind of see why they decided to make them free-to-play. Did you guys know that at one point there was actually a hidden update that was quickly taken away that made it so that you actually received a very small amount of prayer experience from killing a monk? However, they got rid of that almost immediately. I don't know what they were thinking. I guess they thought it made thematic sense, but then potentially realized that it would be kind of overpowered to be able to get prayer experience from an extremely low level monster, and there probably would not be enough monks in the game to actually support people legitimately training there, so they ended up removing that. Did you know that the Tome of Fire was actually originally proposed to have a Dragonfire protection on it, although the community decided against it and it failed to poll at around 56%. It definitely was not that close to passing, and probably for good reason. The Tome of Fire already has a slew of combat stats and bonuses on it. It probably does not need to have Dragonfire protection as well. Did you know that the King Black Dragon can actually talk? During the Tale of Two Cats quest, during the final cutscene, is actually visited by Bob the Jagex cat, and they have a little bit of a chat between the two of them. Potentially he can only chat to other creatures, I don't know. Also, just recently, the examine text was changed on the King Black Dragon. It used to read, "the biggest, meanest dragon around." However, after they added Vorkath, that sentence was no longer true, so they actually took it off him. Sad. Did you know that Cerberus actually stands on a trapdoor, and as most people probably realize, that's actually a reference to Harry Potter? In the first Harry Potter movie, there is a 3-headed dog named Fluffy that stands on a trapdoor that Harry Potter is trying to get through. One could also argue that the 4 stone or crystal drops is also a reference to Harry Potter with the Philosopher's Stone, but overall I think it's just one big reference. Did you know that the Staff of Light has the exact same release date in Oldschool Runescape as it did originally back in RS2, and that is February 8th. Originally it was released in 2010, and in Oldschool Runescape it was released February 8th of 2018, so a full 8 years later, but the exact same date. Did you know that the Arim's robe top actually interferes with the Ave's accumulator or other items like it? The Arim's robe top actually looks quite a bit like a metal chain body, but on top of that, it also interferes with the ammunition pickup just like a regular metal chain body or plate body. Did you know that in the original developer blog, it was actually proposed that Zenyte have extra stats over what we actually ended up getting? In addition to its current stat, it would have provided a passive healing effect when charged with a cut onyx. A charged Zenyte jewelry item would have a 10% chance of healing 5% of the damage dealt to a target, and this effect would have lasted for 10,000 successful hits, which when depleted it would return to its original state, and it was extremely close to passing as well. 69.1% of people voted for it, meaning it only failed by around 6%. Something I just learned about recently is that you can actually fish rainbow fish. I kind of thought they were just a random garbage item you got from imp caskets and random drop tables, but if you actually bring a stripy feather, you're actually able to catch rainbow fish at any fly fishing spot, which makes it kind of a flexible training method. You can do it in Barbarian Village, which is very close to a bank, really anywhere you happen to be that has a fly fishing spot. Rainbow fish actually heal 11 hit points and sell for a decent amount on the Grand Exchange as well. On the very first level of the Stronghold of Security is actually a Legend of Zelda reference. There's actually a skeleton on the ground which is wearing a green hat, which is very similar to the one worn by Link in The Legend of Zelda, and if you examine it, the examine text will say he has passed it or something like that, which is a reference to A Link to the Past and a few other of the Zelda franchise games. And last appear, did you know that the Lumbridge Cook is actually kind of tricking newcomers into getting supplies for him? During the Cook's Assistant quest, he asks you to get supplies, but later on in one of the Goblin quests, he'll actually ask another person for the exact same favor, and presumably every adventurer he sees, so I think he's really just sourcing supplies for his own greedy intentions and isn't actually giving the cakes to anyone. Anyway guys, that is pretty much it for the video. Those are 15 lesser known facts or Easter eggs about Oldschool RuneScape. If I missed anything, definitely leave a comment down below of any interesting facts that aren't on here. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll